Yo! Oh my god, that episode of Demon Slayer Season 2 was absolutely phenomenal. I am so glad that they adapted this series the way they did, with just having it be an 11-episode Season 2 for at least the Entertainment District arc. This is, in my opinion, the perfect ending for a Demon Slayer anime. Of course, we'll talk more about that near the end of the video, but we gotta actually get into the actual meat of this episode. We gotta break down, we gotta analyze, we gotta talk about some of the stuff we saw in this episode. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. And Doma is trending on Twitter too, so you know some simps are about. Also, as an aside, Demon Slayer Season 3 has been confirmed, and it has Mitsuri Kanroji on the cover, so you know. So after the battle, Nezuko wakes up Tanjiro, and it's always adorable to see Nezuko in like this small Nezuko form. It's really funny because I think in this season specifically, even though we've seen like this really grown-up Nezuko with her boobs popping out, I think we've seen the small Nezuko the most this season, if I'm not mistaken. Like we've seen her like 3 or 4 times, I want to say, just in this season alone. So it's always nice to, you know, see Nezuko anyways, because usually when she pops up, she literally pops up and kicks somebody, typically. So it's, you know, it's just nice to see her. We see Zenitsu in the background crying out for Tanjiro. He has no idea what's going on. He was asleep the whole time, and he's like, is my foot broken? Like, what's going on here? I don't even want to open my eyes because I don't want to know what's going on. Here's another thing. Zenitsu this entire season has been phenomenal from the start to finish. He has been a incredibly approved character. God, to compare it to other characters, he may be the most improved out of all of them in terms of, you know, just as a character. Like, I think at the beginning 24 episodes, the first season, I didn't really like him that much. But from Mugen Train onward, and especially the Entertainment District arc, he's phenomenal. I loved him this entire season, and I thought he was great. So leave down in the comments below what you guys thought about Zenitsu in this season of Demon Slayer and how much he's improved or not improved in your eyes. Has your opinions changed about Zenitsu? I love to hear your thoughts in the comments, because they have for mine, and that is for sure, I think, solely responsible for the focus on comedy of this season, and as well, character development. Because as much as we've had really cool fights in this season, I think we've had equally as much character development. I mean, just for example, one of the main themes of this season is not being afraid of the demons they're fighting. Because if you remember in Season 1, one of the big plot threads of this whole series was how scared, how inexperienced the new Demon Slayers are. And by this time in the Entertainment District arc, all of them are fighting on all cylinders, as you know, much as they can. They're not running away from fights. They're confident enough, at least, in their abilities to stand a chance against, you know, these demons. And I think it's really cool that finally, you know, our Demon Slayers, our main 3 characters, maybe we'll throw in, you know, Nezuko as well, was able to finally kill their first demon, which is really cool to see, because as we know from the last couple of seasons, they've mostly kind of been bailed out, but these are their first big kills for their upper rank, you know, demons. So really cool stuff, man. This season was just phenomenal. So Suma and the girls are crying over Tengen. So this scene is really, really funny to me, because it shows how on one side how annoying these girls are, but at the same time how, yeah, they're just really annoying. But I think they're still sweet. I think they're still adorable. I think they're still very likable. I don't think they're the annoying kind of annoying. Not one bit. So Tengen's like, I'm dying, everyone. And at this point, you know he's not going to die. So that's cool. He's just really badly hurt and injured. He's like, I need to get out my last words. Okay, listen to what I'm about to say. And then Suma immediately is like, Tengen, no, don't die. And this was so funny. This is so funny. They all start just yelling at each other, telling Suma and everybody else to shut up and listen to what Tengen has to say. Makio at one point tries to put rocks in Suma's mouth. Oh my god, this was so good. This is so good. I like how Tengen wonders if he'll be able to get out his last words. And then you see Nezuko. She just pops up. She's just there, and she touches Tengen's arm and uses her burning blood, like how she used her burning blood on Tanjiro, to cure all of the poison. For one, Nezuko's really cute. Really, really cute when she's doing these very funny, goofy roles where she's just playing the middleman in the scene. Like, she's doing a simple task, but she's so adorable and so funny. And this whole scene was great. Like I said, it was hilarious. I do love as well how the wives they're freaked out by Nezuko initially. They're like, what are you doing to Tengen? Oh my god, it's so good. This is so good. And Nezuko, she's literally carrying Tanjiro around to look for Daki and Gyutaro, and they find a blood puddle, but it's funny still because Nezuko's carrying Tanjiro around in this really small, adorable Nezuko form. So they get the blood they need for Tamayo, which is really cool. We'll hopefully get to see Tamayo again. Love me some Tamayo, if you know what I mean. And we see the final moments of Daki and Gyutaro. They are at each other's throats, so to speak. They don't really have throats anymore. And as they're deteriorating, they're arguing with one another. And it really sucks at the end of the day that they weren't able to save themselves. I think with other demons, we've had much more sad deaths, I would say, but this is probably rather fitting. I mean, at the end of the day, this shows the difference between the demons and the humans, that the demons are kind of at each other's throat all the time. They only care about themselves, and maybe, like I said, with my theory, that's maybe Muzan's fault for being the influence of that. But it just goes to show that there is a big unity between all of the humans, especially between Nezuko and Tanjiro. And it's really sad, in my opinion, as my alarm goes off, that Daki and Gyutaro, at the end of the day, they didn't even want to call each other siblings. That was really sad to me. And I don't know why it was, but it was a big point where I was like, oh man, that's like a bummer. That's like a really big bummer that they weren't able to, at the end of their life, have some self-awareness. And especially because I love Daki, she's the best, so this one's for you, Daki. Tanjiro stops them from arguing and tells them that they don't really actually mean what they're saying, and that family mustn't turn on each other and must stick with each other through thick and thin. I agree with this. I think the beauty of Daki and Gyutaro's character is that they balance out each other. You have, Daki, or Ume, I should say, who is sort of like, the beauty. She's, and then Gyutaro is sort of, the brute force, the brawn, whatever you want to call it. Their dynamic really, honestly, kind of balance each other out. And I think because of that, I just love their dynamic. And it's just really sad to see them, moments before they die, they're just arguing with one another. It's really unfortunate. But we do learn Daki's true name, which is Ume. She was named after the disease that killed their mother. So if you want to figure out how actually their mother died, then you can just, go and search up what Ume means in Japanese, or like the Ume disease or whatever. So they were born on Rashomon River, where essentially it's the lowest part of the entertainment district. It's the poorest part at the very least, where kids there, they cost too much to just keep alive in general. And Gyutaro was immediately an outcast. He was abandoned by his parents, abandoned by the people around him, and he felt his existence was so that basically someone could mock him. And I can understand why he would feel that way. I mean, for pretty much his entire life, he was treated like this, treated horribly. One would think that, yeah, I would pick up some really toxic mindsets too, especially in an extremely toxic place like that environment. That's really rough, man. He just didn't fit in with the entertainment district, which is, I think, rather funny because, at least physically speaking, he's a rather ugly dude who stands out quite a bit. And in the entertainment district, it's where, where beautiful people are, right? Where rich and beautiful people who have it all, the people that want, the excess and all that stuff. But the place where he actually was, Rashomon Wharf, was actually a place where, physically speaking, and with the attributes he had, you would think he would actually rather fit in there. And we kind of do see him prosper a little bit later on in his life when he gets a bit older, because when Ume was born, it gave him a certain pride in his ugliness almost. A pride, I think really it goes beyond just looks, but like a pride in who he is as a person, because he could offer something to someone. And I think with his character, he probably felt like he couldn't offer anything to anyone because nobody would let him offer anything to, like nobody would give him the time of day. And Ume was, this is his little sister. He's got to protect his little sister, right? So that gave him a certain pride in what he was able to do, which is, once again, I think the beauty of Daki and Gyutaro's relationship. They balance each other out. They help each other and support one another. And I think that their story is very tragic and sad because of that. One day though, Ume was dealing with a samurai. She took the hairpin that he gave her and stabbed him in the eye, blinding him. And so what they did in turn is they tied her up, they dug a small pit, and they tossed her in it, and they burned her alive. Talk about like a really, really harsh punishment. It's funny because, people say like an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. This is like an eye for your life. This is literally what this is. It's overreaching, overbearing, way too harsh. Punishment does not fit the crime at all. Though there may have been something fishy going on here, because at least one of the Oiron, I think she's like one of the old people who is in charge of all of the courtesans and stuff. It seems like there was something going on here, and sadly, Ume was just caught in the middle of it. That being said, Gyutaro was also seemingly the person they maybe wanted all along in this. And so, the samurai comes back, he slashes Gyutaro in the back, and you think that he's gonna die there, but in reality, that doesn't happen. He jumps out of the pit, kills the girl, which, by the way, I'm just gonna say right now, she deserved every single bit of that. She was complicit in the murder of Ume, and she was gonna be complicit in the murder of Gyutaro. Her punishment really does fit the crime, which is, I think, the difference. And also as well, keep in mind, this is probably the first person that Gyutaro has ever killed. So they only killed someone when they were driven to, take action. And then he also kills the samurai, and all I can say is punishment fits the crime. I mean, it kind of does, murder is bad, but at the same time, murder is also bad, and he murdered someone first. I can understand why he would want revenge for that. But now in the afterlife, they're turned into demons, basically. They're given blood by Doma, who is, oh my god, Doma. Doma is going to be sent after. In fact, he already is. Go on Twitter. Doma this morning was trending on Twitter. All of the ladies, they're loving this guy. And it's rather funny because this season we had, Daki, and then now we have someone of the opposite end. We have Doma, who is essentially just, a really hot dude. So good for the simps out there. Good for the simps. Also, to be fair, he's got a really cool design. His eyes, I don't know if I can get used to his eyes. His eyes are strange, and he has this thing going on with his hair, this strange pattern. I like that. I like that a lot. I love the designs of the demons in Demon Slayer, like pretty much all of them in their own ways. Even Gyutaro is kind of a cool design. So, Doma, yeah, lots of thirsty ladies on the internet already after some Doma. But Gyutaro feels that he's failed Ume, and that's something that is constantly weighing on his mind and in his heart, because he feels like Ume could have had a much better life, but sadly, that just wasn't the case. But even still, Ume won't give up on Gyutaro. Even in what is, they think, the afterlife, Ume still sticks with Gyutaro. And that is something that I love about these two characters. In this season, at the very least. Even in battle, Daki and Gyutaro work together, and I feel like just over the 100 and something years that they were alive, they just kind of, lost the path a little bit, and it really sucks. It really does. So, sadly, Daki and Gyutaro both die. It kind of ends on this bittersweet thing where they argue with each other until they die, but after we see their backstory, Nezuko gives the nod to Tanjiro, and Tanjiro is like, did they make up in the end? And yeah, I'd like to believe that. I would. And then Snake Boy shows up, compliments Tengen on doing a good job. I'm not sure what his slant was in this, but it was kind of comedic. Well, apparently he was late, by the way. Apparently he was supposed to show up early or something like that. But the ladies, they bring this up, and then and then he uses one of the snakes. One of the snakes hisses at, I think it's Suma, and Suma freaks out like, oh my god. Tengen's wives are goobers. Absolute goobers. But thankfully, the scales have tipped in the favor of the Demon Slayers. That is something that I am very happy to see, because now we have a situation where maybe, possibly, Muzan Jackson is going to be taken down in this generation of Demon Slayers. And if that is the case, then, oh, that's going to be very interesting, especially for season 3, or if they're going to do a movie again. Whatever that may be, it's going to be very interesting for the future of Demon Slayer. That is for sure. And then at the very end, Akaza is summoned to the Infinity Castle. I forget what it's called. Somebody help me in the comments below. Anyways, on to why I think this was the perfect ending. So it's first important to say that I think when I say perfect ending, I don't mean the overall perfect ending ever made. I think many people don't understand. When I say this, I mean in comparison to the past endings we've gotten. So the past ending of Mugen Train, the past ending of Demon Slayer Season 1, I think this is, in regards to those endings as well, a perfect ending as much as Mugen Train or Demon Slayer Season 1 is. Is it better than Mugen Train? No, but it's certainly better than, I think, Season 1's ending at the very least, because that was kind of, it just stopped. Like, it just stopped with basically the kind of the same ending as this, with Akaza being summoned with the Infinity Castle and whatnot. That seems to be kind of a thing. But I think for this, it is way more satisfying, because you get the closure of Tengen, you get the closure of Daki and Gyutaro, which is a brilliant backstory, by the way. I cannot stress that enough. That is a awesome backstory. Very tragic. Honestly, makes Daki and Gyutaro's characters more special than they already were, which I greatly appreciate, and is very important in a series like Demon Slayer, where you kind of move on to the next more powerful demon, so on and so forth. It's the whole Dragon Ball Z thing. So it's important to have memorable villains, and I certainly think that Daki and Gyutaro are some of, if not the most memorable villains so far in Demon Slayer. I think it's even more memorable than the Spider family, in my opinion, and by a large margin. I even put up a poll on Twitter. I asked people, and this could be recency bias, what do you prefer, Demon Slayer Season 2 Episode 11 or Demon Slayer Season 1 Episode 19? And majority people voted Episode 11 of Season 2, or Episode 10 of Season 2, I'm sorry. And yeah, I agree. I think Episode 10 of Demon Slayer is great, but I think this also shows that the pacing is quite important with this season. I think if this was stretched out to 24 episodes, you couldn't do it. This wouldn't be a great season at all. But the way they did it, and a lot of people are very mad because, they put Mugen Train arc in front of this 11 episode season, but guys, these last 11 episodes were amazing. Like, what are you complaining about? We got this, and this is easily the best thing. I think it's the best arc in Demon Slayer. I think I'm going to make a video on this, on explaining maybe why it's perfect, or why it's just as perfect as Mugen Train, or maybe even better. So check out that video coming out either this coming week or next week, whenever I can write it and, formulate some thoughts, besides my first impressions and breakdown and analysis, something a little bit more concrete and well thought out. But I really do, at this moment, think that Demon Slayer Season 2 just has the perfect ending. And I think as well, it's better than, at the very least, Season 1. We'll see what happens when we stack it up against Mugen Train, but I think that is obviously better than Season 1. Not that Season 1 was bad. Season 1 is pretty good. I really enjoyed Season 1. I think in terms of pound for pound, Season 2 is the best one. So enough with repeating myself. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you think Demon Slayer Season 2 better? Do you think it has the perfect ending? Do you think it's better than Mugen Train? Do you think it's better than Season 1? I want to know what you guys thought about this episode. Just honestly, giving me your brutal, genuine thoughts down in the comments below. I loved this season. I love this episode, and check back in a couple weeks. Subscribe and ring the bell if you want to, because yeah, I'll be coming out with a formal review or video essay about Demon Slayer Season 2 as a whole. So thanks for watching, everybody. Click on some of these videos, especially about, the playlist with all of my Demon Slayer videos in them. I think you'll greatly appreciate that if you're a fan of Demon Slayer. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.